So first of all, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous weather day out today. It is literally perfect outside. I cannot stress that enough. Like, the humidity is incredibly low. It is just sunny, but warm, but hot enough that I can sit in the shade and not be cold, but cool enough that I could sit in the sun if I wanted. Oh no, we have wind again. Ah! This morning I woke up with a new mystery rash on my arm. You can't really see it in this lighting because I'm already so pale. But I will insert a picture here. It is incredibly itchy. I don't really know what it's from, but the biggest possibility is what I'm going to talk about in this vlog. So let's get into it. So on Friday I had a test that I've never had before. I didn't really know what to expect. It was called an EMG. According to Google, what that stands for is electromyography. This is a confusing definition. It says measures muscle response or electrical activity in response to a nerve stimulation in the muscle. So basically what they do is they insert a needle into the muscle and then like electrically stimulate it. It's a whole thing. And again, I am no expert. This is just my understanding of the test. So if you're really interested in the test or you're gonna have the test done, I would encourage you to research it yourself. But basically what happened is we went in and there were two parts to the test. The first part was they put tiny little electrodes, like mostly on my hand, maybe one up here, and then they would like stimulate it and my fingers would like twitch. And I guess they were just making sure that all my fingers like work correctly to electrical stimulation. I don't know. That's just my assumption of how it worked. It didn't hurt that much. It was more of a discomfort. I mean, it felt like a bee sting on the worst of them. I think there was like maybe one in here that was a little bit more painful, but really the worst of them felt like a bee sting, which, I mean, a lot of people, that never feels good, right? But it wasn't like excruciating pain. Actually, let me start back at the beginning because this whole day was just like a nightmare. So first of all, I had to get up early. I had to get up probably like 3 hours earlier than I normally get up because my goal right now is to rest. So I will just let my body sleep as long as it needs to and get up naturally and not get up according to an alarm. But this day I had to get up with an alarm, right? Ugh, I'm nauseous again. The nausea has been out of control. And that's part of my story. So I woke up, my dad picked me up, the test was at the hospital. And so go in, we're sitting in the waiting room for maybe a half hour. It was like a pretty long wait. And I just start to get so nauseous. And I actually went back on one of the meds that I had gone back off of because my mood was really dipping. And when I say my mood, I was starting to have severe depression again and suicidal thoughts. So it's just kind of a normal for me now, so it's not even like a surprise. But I believe that the implant injection that I'm getting is causing me to have these mood dips and causing the depression and suicidal thoughts. And so to offset that, my doctor recommended this med. But when I'm on the med, after about, the first time was like a week and a half, the second time was 5 days, it causes extreme nausea, even worse than my normal nausea, to the point of me almost throwing up. I've almost thrown up twice, so then I have to go back off of the med. So then I'm like pulsing the med. I'm on the med until I feel better for a couple of days with my mood and less depression and suicidal thoughts. But that, you know, it's like this back and forth. So anyway, I got to the point Friday where I've been on it 5 days and I was almost throwing up. I was doing everything I could. I had my gum in. I'd forgotten my water bottle in the car because I try not to like take my mask off in a public place when there's all these people around, or if I do, I try not to like breathe when I'm taking it off, but I just try to avoid that. So, you know, hadn't brought it in. So I was just sitting in the waiting room trying not to throw up. And I appreciate my dad. He was like Googling as fast as he could other ways to, you know, prevent nausea or prevent throwing up because, you know, I know you can sniff like alcohol wipes. Didn't have any of those. You know, I'm chewing mint gum. I'm trying my best. I had literally already looked and like found 2 bucket buddies, which are just places you can throw up. So there was trash cans both within like 10 or 15 feet of me. So I was like deciding which one I would go to if I had to throw up. I mean, I was on the verge. I have nausea all the time, but I am usually not on the verge of throwing up. So this wasn't good. So finally my dad was like Googling stuff. He was like, okay, if you hum, you can't physically throw up while you're humming. So if you have to like make it to one of the garbage cans, just hum. So then I just started humming, probably being so annoying to other people in the waiting room. But again, this is instead of me throwing up. I think they would prefer me to hum than throw up in front of them. So also was like humming. And then he also found, so this is great for people with nausea, he also found there's a pressure point on your leg below your knee that you can actually like hold or press into, and it's supposed to help nausea. There's also one like right here on your wrist that I actually have C bands, I think they're called, for, that are a band that has a little pressure point that pushes into them, and we use that usually in the car. But I can't do that myself physically because something about touching the tendons around there, my body just goes like limp. I guess it's a psychological thing, but I can't do it. My body freaks out. So the knees though were fine, and so I was like pressing on my, you know, that spot below my knees. I'm doing it right now because I'm actually really nauseous and could throw up again. So I'm really struggling in the waiting room, and that is completely taking away my anxiety for the test because I just don't want to throw up. So finally the nurse calls me, takes me back, and she's the one who did the one part of the test with the little electrodes that the bee sting was kind of the most painful part. Then she leaves, and then like an actual neurologist comes in to do the needle part, and she was like, okay, so your first part of your test looked good. I was like, oh, okay, cool, and that will come into play later. And then she's like, okay, so you know, this next part, what we literally do is we insert a needle into 5 or more different muscles, and we listen, like the nerve stimulation is turned into like an auditory, like a sound that then they listen to make sure it's making the right sound, I guess. Again, not an expert. Google it if you need to know exactly the science of what's happening, but it was fascinating. Oh, also my hands are very cold at all times, so I had to scald myself under hot water to try to warm them up for the first part at least. And it was really nice. My dad was like, just be careful, she's a people pleaser, so like she will burn herself to get it as warm as you need it, so let her know she can like adjust the water if she can. So that was really nice. My dad is doing a great job of trying to advocate for me because I would burn myself to try to do what they want me to do. So anyway, she's like, lay on the table, look straight up. So I never got to see how big the needle was, and the nurse was between my dad and the needle, so he never got to see how big the needle was. And they probably do that on purpose so people don't look at the needle and freak out. But she was like, look straight up. So yeah, basically what happens is they put one needle up here somewhere, and then they'll make you constrict your muscle. So they'll do it just lying flat with no constriction, and then the sound really changes and gets crazy louder when you constrict your muscle. So she has like one hand, you know, putting the needle in your muscle, and then she'll also have you push against her with your other hand, which I'm like, you can't keep the one hand completely still with the needle in you while she's pushing against you with her other hand while you constrict. It's not you constricting on your own, you have to press against her. So I'm sure that didn't help. But anyway, so there was 5 different muscles. One was like on the hand, like probably in this area. One was in here. That one hurt so bad. I think she hit a nerve when she went in. Something happened when she put that one in. I felt it in my hand. I felt it up here. It was really painful. And that was the one that was like in the longest. I was like, oh no, is this a bad sign? Like, is something wrong with that one that it has all this pain? I don't know, but a lot of them were kind of bleeding, so I had to put pressure on it as well so that it wouldn't bleed anymore. But you know, it was a big enough needle that it made it bleed. So anyway, after the test, she was like, you were my best patient this morning, you know, whatever that's worth, but I didn't make a peep. I have a high pain tolerance, and so I just try not to, you know, show if anything is painful, even if it is. So yeah, unfortunately after the second test, she didn't say, hey, everything looks good. She only said like, your PCP will get a copy of this report. And that really made my dad nervous. I wasn't paying attention. I was still trying not to throw up. We like left, my dad was immediately like, she didn't say that the second one was okay too. And I was like, it's okay, it's okay. But yeah, so we'll see. I still haven't gotten the report back. Like I said, that was Friday, and I'm actually recording this early because my dad and I are going on a little staycation at an Airbnb this week. So I need to record this now because I don't really know what this week is gonna look like. So it's Sunday. So anyway, it was just wild. And my whole point, I know I keep scratching this, it is so incredibly itchy. I don't know if this is like hives or histamine reaction. It's been 2 days. So they did put electrodes on my arm, and there are sticky stuff on the electrodes with the first test. And so a possibility is that I'm reacting to those. Now, normally when my skin reacts to adhesive or anything that has like adhesive sticky stuff in it, it reacts immediately. So this is incredibly strange that like this itchy, really bumpy reaction is happening 2 days later, and I don't really know what that's from. And that's always concerning because it's like, okay, how are we going to stop this if we don't know what it's from? I mean, I just woke up this morning and it was incredibly itchy, and so I don't know. Like, I don't know what it's from, but I think after this I'm gonna take a Benadryl, even if it conks me out for the day, because it is so incredibly itchy, and that is the only thing that helps my skin itchiness. I guess I also forgot to say why I had the EMG test done. Sorry, this is just kind of like all over the place, but I had the EMG test done because my hands shake slightly sometimes, and that's only happened in the last couple of months. It happened around the same time that my shoulder issues started, so I don't know if it was related to my calcified tendonitis and my low-lying distal acromion that I went to physical therapy for, but I also had it in my left hand, and so it's very slight. But I mean, one time my dad was like watching and he was like, oh, I can see that. So he could see it too. So I don't know what that's from. I don't know if it's just like muscle weakness, but it's not like I'm doing anything. I'll just be like holding my hand and it'll just be slightly shaking. So it's not like I'm even trying to pick anything up or something, but it would also shake when I would be trying to hold like a fork or something, and the harder I would try to hold the fork, the more my hand would be shaking. So I have no idea what that's from. So that's why they sent me to do this test to see like what is going on. But yeah, that was my experience with the EMG test. The needles in the end weren't that painful. I mean, it was like a little prick at the beginning. That one specifically was pretty painful, but compared to like my general pain, it wasn't that bad. But it's just never fun to be in so much pain and then have more pain added on top of that and more discomfort. But for people with like a low pain tolerance, it's just not fun, or who are afraid of like needles. But overall, it wasn't an awful experience, thank goodness. I was a little nervous about it. Really, the nausea was the worst experience of that day. But I'm still waiting to hear back with my test results for the second half of that experience. We'll see what happens there, but there's just a lot going on right now, and I honestly have like too much to talk about for each vlog, so I'm kind of parsing them out. There's a lot going on that I can't wait to tell you all about, good and bad. So stay tuned. This month has just been like crazy, so I might record some vlogs ahead so that as I'm recovering from endo surgery, I'll just have some that I'll be able to upload and not feel like I have to, you know, record if I don't feel up to it. I would like to document some of that experience, but I just don't know how I'm gonna be feeling. Also, my allergies are absolute crap right now. Every single morning I'm waking up with a headache and my head is so stuffed up, and oh my god, it's awful. I just feel like there's a balloon that's inflated in my head and I was just like top heavy. So that's fun too. So I'm hanging in there. I'm kind of in the fight or flight a little bit still, just from everything that's been going on, some of which I still can't tell you all about, but I'm hanging in there day by day, and this will be what I do for today, and I'm gonna crash the rest of the day. So yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you are having a fabulous day, and I will talk to you all more soon. Bye.